Let's bring in Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports college basketball analyst. Good morning, Doug. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. A chiropractor is not a doctor. A chiropractor is a very, very important person to know when you have a crick in your neck or a rib out. But they always want to put you on a treatment plan, and they always want to do x-rays when all I want to do is get adjusted. Sorry, that's yesterday driving, listening to this outstanding radio program.
Thank you, Doug. All right. Now, let me start with the Sacramento Kings. If I gave you over under 40 wins for the new and improved Sacramento Kings, you're taking the over or the under?
Under. Under. Look, I thought they got the number one prospect in the draft last night, and I think, look, De'Aaron Fox is a little disappointing, but year two, he should be better, and they've clearly tried to change the culture of that place. The new arena is spectacular. I mean, look, I think there are brighter times on the horizon, but remember, that's 27 wins when half the league's tanking. You know, and that's like and you had teams that were just completely loaded up with injuries at the top. You know, the Golden State Warriors cycled through injuries. You look at what happened with the Pelicans. You're still in the West. I would expect the West to get better, especially if LeBron comes and joins the Lakers. I just 40 wins is a big jump. 27 to 40 is a huge jump for that team. Doesn't mean they didn't do well last night, but just means we need to take a deep breath. I would take the under on that.
By the way, who defeated the Golden State Warriors twice last season?
That would be the Sacramento Kings.
Absolutely. All right. The biggest surprise last night was?
I think to most people would be Michael Porter Jr. sliding to Denver. Look, he's got. I mean, the injury issues are there. You know, whether it's a back or a hip, those are things that really scare people off. And then, you know, there's just a sense of kind of entitlement and arrogance there, to which, like, hey, dude, you played 3 games in college. Like, let's take a breath here. You know, I think, you know, he comes from a really good family, and his dad's done a great job protecting him from the real world. But, like, you know, when you're raised in a bubble and told that you're great, sometimes you start believing it a little bit too much. So I think him sliding was a surprise to a lot of people. Not as big a surprise in NBA circles, but a surprise because he was some people's number 1 prospect or number 2 prospect in the country coming into the year.
But I'm also fascinated, Doug, that you have to get to a certain point where you say that Michael Porter is worth the risk. So maybe not worth the risk at 8 or 7 or 9, but then you get to 14 and then he becomes worth the risk. Like, at what point does a guy who has question marks around him health-wise become worth the risk?
Well, I mean, Denver's a perfect example, right? Like, they have Jokic is a star. I mean, Jokic is the best player in the NBA that most non-NBA fans have never heard of. So they already have a nice little roster, some really good players, Gary Harris. So they don't have to depend upon him. If he flames out at 14, like, all right. Whereas, you know, like Atlanta with Trae Young, they're going to build they're going to trade their point guard. They're going to build the whole thing around him. If he fails, everybody gets fired, or at least the coach gets fired. So I think it depends upon where you are drafting and how much you're depending on this player to come in and help you. I'm not sure if I'm like, look, I love Colin Sexton. I thought he was the best point guard in the draft. And I love that Cleveland took him, but I'm not sure if I'm Cleveland. If I'm losing LeBron, if I wouldn't have taken a swing, that's a home run swing for Michael Porter Jr. because if he's healthy, you know, if he gets humbled a little bit, I mean, that he can be an all-star. Whereas I don't know if Colin Sexton is an all-star as opposed to just a really, really good point guard. So, again, I think it's franchise dependent, it's roster dependent, and then it kind of depends upon your GM and how confident they are that if the pick fails or if his body breaks down, you can survive it. You know, like Philadelphia, there's a team that could have taken a swing at him, considering they've taken, even with the previous regime, they had taken injured players and been willing to sit them for a year. Remember, if you sit them for a year, that's going to be essentially 2 years without playing basketball. That's not a good sign for how his body's going to hold up in the rigors of the NBA.
Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports college basketball analyst, joining us. Dan Patrick Show. What Dallas did, I mentioned it yesterday that I wouldn't be surprised if they were looking for the heir apparent to Dirk Nowitzki and they went up for Luka Doncic. Are you surprised that they got him and what they gave up and what Atlanta did with getting Trae Young?
Well, look, there's 2. Let's start with Dallas. Obviously, they gave up a lot, but I mean, I'm most confident that he's going to be a really good player. Like, I don't know if he'll be I don't think he'll be an all-star, or maybe he's a one-time all-star. I have no idea. Because, look, he's got to change his body. He's got to get a little bit more athletic, which he can in the States. Got to continue to improve his shooting. But he's going to be a good NBA player, and he's able to play right away. You put him next to Dennis Smith, and now you kind of got a backcourt that, there's a team they were trying, last couple of years, they tried to be good, then they'd have injuries, and then they'd start tanking. So you don't really know what the Dallas Mavericks are, what their ceiling actually is. Did they overspend, next year's first-round pick? Probably not, because I think they know they were a lot better than their actual record because they tried to be bad. I mean, you should see the fourth quarter lineups that the Dallas Mavericks threw out there. They're guys that you had no idea. You need to go people are scrambling, looking through, their media guides when they check into the game because Dallas was trying to be bad. So I don't think their first-round draft pick is going to be terribly valuable next year. I think it's a really good pick. He's solid. He won an NBA. He won a Euro championship and a Spanish championship at 18 years old. I don't know how you could go wrong there, especially when you have the athleticism of Dennis Smith and you could put the two of those guys together. As for Atlanta, you bring a GM over and he comes from Golden State and he's trying to recreate Golden State and they have the chance of more first-round picks next year, which you like. I think Trae Young's probably going to win Rookie of the Year because they don't have much else. They're going to give him the ball, spread it out, and just have him go. There's going to be nights when it's going to be great. There's going to be nights when it's going to be horrible. I mean, it's guys when he's going to give up twice as many as he gets. But they're going to play the numbers game and just try and throw a bunch of stuff at the wall. I like Horter, the kid they got from Maryland, who can play a bunch of positions, but I don't think he's great. So they're trying to do the Golden State light thing, and it's great. But Golden State has only worked once. We'll see if it works a second time in Atlanta.
Jerry West is up to something with the Clippers. What did you make of what the Clippers did?
I genuinely liked it. I'm not a huge Miles Bridges fan, but I think he's wait. So who'd they get? I'm trying. There's so much movement there. They got
Alexander.
Yes, everybody likes Alexander. The big question is, can he shoot? But I mean, he has. If you watched him with Kentucky, that team was kind of a mess. They had a lot of low basketball IQ guys, and he was just kind of a stabilizing force. The big question with him is, can he shoot? And then the big question with Jerry West is, hey, can Jerry West land a big free agent? Everything he's touched before has turned to gold, from Memphis to the Lakers to Golden State. I mean, he's Midas touch. If you can fix the Clippers now, he has to immediately go sit next to God. I mean, it'd be remarkable. But I like what they did in the draft. You know what I like the most? Or maybe one of the two or three? I like what Chicago did. Chicago did a really nice job. Wendell Carter's probably a starting big guy. And then, the kid they got from Boise State is tremendous. Chandler Hutchison. He's actually Orange County. Yeah, he's an Orange County kid. He's a 3-and-D, developed under Leon Rice at Boise State. They got two really good players. Look, I don't think Carter's going to be a star, but he could be. But you got to get – it's like what Golden State did. You got to get a bunch of really good players and then luck out into one becoming a star or land a star as a free agent. Yeah.
And also with the Lakers, with Mo Wagner, is he a guy who sticks on this team?
Yes. I mean, they like Mo Wagner a lot, and he can shoot. He's smart. He's tough. He's not great at defending on the perimeter, but look, I mean, it's pretty obvious what the NBA is trending towards, Either as a big guy, either you're a rim protector or you got to be a floor stretcher, and you got to be able to cover on, it's a switch-happy NBA. And if you can't do that, then you can't play in this league, which brings us back to the number one pick, which I like DeAndre Ayton. He's a tremendous prospect. But the best thing he does is he's incredibly agile in the low post, right? And that's the part of the NBA that's being minimized. I mean, I came on your guys' show last year, and I will grovel and give it up to the guys because I believe who was it who said there's going to be a run on running backs in the NFL draft 2 years ago? It wasn't Seton, was it? Who was it? It was McLovin, and he's right. The problem is that drafting a running back in the first round when you can get one in the second or the third round. It's the same thing with center. Like the Robert Williams kid at A&M who who Boston got, like, I don't think he's great, but he could be a Clint Capella type, and you can win big with that. Whereas it's really hard to win big with a true low-post player. I know Ayton can face up and shoot the basketball, but that's the part of his game that he has to develop. The best part of his game is in a low post, and he's not really a rim protector defensively. So it goes against conventional wisdom, but I wouldn't have gone with a center number one overall because the NBA is telling you, don't throw the ball in the low post. We're making it harder and harder to play through the post.
So you would have taken Bagley one?
Yes.
Because he's a Chris Bosh type.
Yes, or even taking Doncic one. Just, the coach coached him. He coached him in for a Euro championship. You have a great relationship. You put the best players out there on the floor. You play small ball and you go. I would have considered it. Like, look, that thing was done a long time ago. The owner's an Arizona guy. The kid played a little high school in Arizona. Played college in Arizona. Like all that, and he was on many people's number one boards. I'm just looking at it and saying, okay, show me where the low post play, the low post center exists in the NBA playoffs. And if you're Phoenix, you're like, look, we've been so far from the playoffs, we can't even figure that out. But
True.
The league is clearly trending. Marcin Gortat's going to be given away by the Wizards. Dwight Howard can't find a job, and I know that Ayton's a better face-up shooter than either of those two, and he's younger and he's agile. And he has no injury history. But look at the trend of the league, and you have to adjust to it because if you don't, you're going to be left with mismatched pieces. And, that's kind of what happened to Oklahoma City. That's what happened to San Antonio in many ways. You're left with two post players or even one post player, and sometimes your best player can't be on the floor in key situations.
Doug, have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us as always.
All right, boys. Listen, I know you guys are off in a week. We'll hold the fort down, and you feel free to call in from vacation in parts unknown. And that's not just you, Dan. McLovin can call in. Seton can call in. Even Fritzy can call in.
Thank you, Doug.
See you, fellas.
That's Doug Gottlieb, who apparently is filling in for us when we're on vacation. And Doug just invited me to call into my show while I'm on vacation.
Very thoughtful.
What part of vacation did Doug not understand? Doug Gottlieb, Fox Sports college basketball analyst.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.